This is a film about a hike to Laguna Torre to see the breathtaking Cerro Torre, as well as a side trip to see the amazing Perito Moreno Glacier. Previously, I'd traveled around the area by bus. However, this time to enhance the visit, I rented a car at the airport to get around. The car made it possible to stop and see sights that wouldn't have been possible in a bus. Whilst landing at El Calafate, both the mountains of Cerro Torre and Fitzroy were visible, despite being about 120 kilometers in the distance as the crow flies. The drive from El Calafate to El Chaltén takes about 3.5 hours and covers some 220 kilometers. The guanaco is a camelid closely related to the llama. It is widespread in the plains and mountainous regions of South America. Livestock fences are no challenge to a guanaco who wants to get to the other side. A pair of two well-camouflaged Rheas were moving through the field. Rheas, native to South America, are distant relatives to the ostrich and emu. With patience, guanacos could be seen against some interesting mountain backgrounds, including Cerro Torre and Fitzroy. Near El Chaltén, the road heads straight towards Fitzroy, affording some interesting views as the light changes throughout the day and night, especially if the moon is out over the mountains. Lago Viedma near El Chaltén is particularly beautiful given the snow-covered mountains in the background across the lake and the icebergs from the Viedma Glacier floating about. At Lago Viedma near El Chaltén, the shoreline was alive with birds on the ground, birds in the water, and birds in the air. Although they were not guarding nests, the southern lapwings made it clear that they were not pleased to have anybody in their area. Cattle and sheep ranching and associated gauchos added to the scenery. At times, Andean condors could be seen soaring in the mountains. There is only one gas station at El Chaltén, so it is important to refuel when arriving to avoid supply shortages. Apart from hotels, there are several hostels in town. The trail to Laguna Torre starts at the southwest edge of El Chaltén. The hike into Laguna Torre takes about 3.5 hours and covers 9 kilometers. It involves an elevation gain of about 240 meters. The hike into Laguna Torre is an easy one compared to the much harder one to Laguna de los Tres at the base of Fitz, as the latter has a 3 times greater elevation gain. Early into the hike, one comes across the Mirador Margarita, which affords a view of the Cascade of Margarita falling into the Rio Fitzroy. If you hike up to the falls on the south side of the Rio Fitzroy, then there is an impressive view of the Cerro Aldela, Cerro Torre, and Fitzroy. From there you can see the view of Fitzroy that the American company named Patagonia uses on its logo. There were many pretty alpine flowers to be seen, many of them tiny ones. Halfway through the hike to Laguna Torre is the Mirador Torre, with a magnificent panoramic view of the Adela Range, Cerro Torre, and its satellite granite towers. You'll never know what you'll meet on the trail.
Hola.
Seeing a scorpion was a surprise, as was the wide variety of ground cover encountered along the way. The ground cover ranged from open meadows, big trees in an old forest, and a forest of dead trees. The rocks host a colorful collection of lichens. Near Laguna Torre, there is a Tyrolean traverse across the Rio Fitz. At Laguna Torre, the trail ends at a high terminal moraine, which once ascended affords a wonderful view out over Laguna Torre. Glacier Grande calves ice into Laguna Torre, but its terminus has largely retreated from the lake. I had an hour of serenity alone at the lake to watch the clouds form and dissipate over Cerro Torre. Cerro Torre's summit normally has a rime ice mushroom that makes summiting a challenge. The arrival of a large hiking group ended the serenity, so it was time to start the 4-hour hike back to my car. El Calafate has yet another Argentinian sign claiming ownership of the Falkland Islands. Returning from El Chaltén to El Calafate, it was time to visit the impressive Perito Moreno Glacier. The Perito Moreno Glacier, 80 kilometers from El Calafate, is named after the explorer Francisco Moreno, a 19th century pioneer in the region. There's lots to see on the drive to the glacier, starting with the waterfowl on Lake Argentino, which includes swans and flamingos. Unfortunately, a local citizen of El Calafate allowed his dog to chase the waterfowl in the bird reserve. There were beautiful mountain scenes across Lago Argentino. Cattle on the estancias along the way were very evocative of Argentina in my mind's eye. The Perito Moreno Glacier is located in the Parque Nacional Los Glaciares, which has an entry fee of 500 pesos or about $15. It's a winding drive along the Rico arm of Lago Argentino until suddenly the glacier's massive 5-kilometer wide front comes into view. Tour boats take tourists out to the glacier's terminus where they can hike on the glacier. The Perito Moreno Glacier is one of only 3 Patagonian glaciers that is growing despite glaciers shrinking elsewhere. The reason for its growth remains debated by glaciologists. Due to its size and accessibility, the Perito Moreno Glacier is one of the major tourist attractions in southern Patagonia. Unfortunately, the Patagonian fox in the parking lot was habituated as people feed it. The glacier produces a cycle of ice dams as it advances and blocks off the Rico Arm from the rest of Lago Argentino, causing the water in the arm to rise. Eventually, the ice dam is undermined, giving way, which produces catastrophic flooding as the backed up waters in the Rico Arm pours forth into the rest of Lago Argentino. The tourist facilities at the glaciers are good, with a walkway that affords good viewing of the activities at the terminus. There is even an elevator that takes people down to the lower levels of the walkway. The terminus of the Perito Moreno Glacier is 5 kilometers wide, with an average height of 74 meters above the surface water of Lago Argentino. I spent my time at the terminus waiting for calving events to occur. Fortunately, because the glacier is advancing, it calves frequently, and I saw several such events during my time at the terminus. Given that it was a bright sunny day, there were beautiful blues visible in the crevasses at the glacier's terminus. Back at El Calafate, it was time to fly south to Ushuaia for a voyage to Antarctica. The hike to see Cerro Torre was worth the time and effort involved.
Take me somewhere nice, to some tired island in your heart called Paradise.